Hi, I'm Bailey Compton.
And my name's Craig Swan.
We're both from Leverage Group. Craig's one of our trainers. I'm the principal solicitor here. We both have a background in law and real estate, as anyone who's ever been trained by us are fully aware. We thought it's time for us to react to the Prime Minister's announcements on Tuesday night regarding the limitations he's put on real estate. Some of those we've already worked on, some we've been working on for some period of time.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock we have a webinar, if anyone wants to be involved, regarding residential tenancies, which also carry CPD points. But right at this moment we thought we should really focus on how the sales process is going to occur. Now, Craig, you've been involved with a bit of training today. Is everyone a bit concerned about the sales process?
Bailey, there seems to be some confusion at the beginning of the process, the physical inspection side of it, although the Prime Minister has made it very clear that we have to practice social distancing. How does that actually practically translate when you're trying to get one or more people through a property? And that I think has come up, and what do you think?
Let's keep our two fundamentals we need to keep right based on the health reports. The Chief Medical Officer, etc., have all said there's two major things we've got to avoid. We've got to ensure that we've got to ensure social distancing, which is 1.45 metres apart.
Which is what we've done here, correct?
Yep. And Craig and I got our measuring tape out earlier and made certain we're 1.5 apart.
That's right.
Just to make certain we don't cause a problem. The second one is you need to ensure that you don't have physical contact. You need to make certain you're not touching or you're not breathing on each other and you don't come in touch with each other. So what you need to do is limit contact and keep distance. They're the two simple rules the Prime Minister and Chief Medical Officer has.
What about a mask, Bailey? I've heard people saying you've got to bring your own mask along, BYO mask. How does that fit in?
That's a good question, but let's deal with that in the process. For those who've been trained by me in the past, I've always looked at real estate in a sales process, and they'll be down the side of the screen so everyone can see them, and we'll actually talk about the areas which are really important. Going from the top to the bottom, we have a physical inspection. You need to do an estimated selling price. All of us need agency agreements if we want to be paid commission. If we want to show a property, we need a contract in our office. We need to show the property. We need to make offers. Some of us need to conduct auctions, but most of us need to be able to undertake an exchange. Now, the limitation areas which we think are really important are obviously your physical inspection, showing the properties, auctions and exchanges. But we also think there's need to be very thoughtful about agency agreements, contracts and exchanges. So let's start at the top. Under Schedule 2 of the Property, Stock and Business Agents Regulations 2014. Now, it's really interesting, Craig.
Yeah.
The Minister's changed the name of the Act to Property and Stock Act 2002, but the regulations are still the Property, Stock and Business Agents Act 2014.
And still 2014. Fancy that.
No wonder we're a bit confused with the way the Minister's operating. It's always a little bit confusing. But under Schedule 2, Clause 2, we're required to do a physical inspection of property.
Right.
Now, physical inspection means physical inspection. It means we need to attend the premises and deal with it.
Right.
Now, Craig, you talked about masks and a few other things.
Yes.
We actually coached a guy yesterday, one of our agents who regularly brief us, to actually deal with his first open house under social
distancing rules.
And he was very careful. Obviously, it was a bit uncomfortable. Couldn't shake hands. Couldn't greet people in the normal way. But he said that everyone seems to have come to grips with the fact that we don't touch, we don't breathe on each other, we keep distance. And he felt that one of the things he did right was to advise the property owner before he got out there of what to do. And he said, look, really important if we're coming along is to do two things. One, have a mask. Two, make certain we have gloves.
Gloves, I was going to say, gloves are important.
Well, gloves are important because if it is touching, and I must admit for all of us it's been a bit confusing about how this corona disease gets separated from one person or passed on from one person to another. However, if touching's important, you're going to touch things in a house. Doorknobs, windows, you might even have to put your hand on the table to put a contract down. There might be a range of things you have to do. So if you're going to truly protect yourself and your client, you need to make certain you have gloves and mask.
So you're talking about inspecting the property as well as showing the property, Bailey? The same sorts of issues?
Showing the property has other issues, but
Right.
the beautiful thing about when you're inspecting the property, you have one lot owner, and one of the things we did in this particular case is we got a letter sent out to him saying, look, we're coming out today. Obviously, we need to be careful of social distancing. It'd be really good if only one member of the household's present. Look, make certain you get yourself a mask, get yourself some gloves. We're going to wear a mask and gloves, and we really apologise for not shaking hands when we arrive. And he found that, yes, it was different, but everyone just nodded, and there was only one of them at home, and it worked really, really well.
Everyone seems to understand. Everyone's doing their bit as we're required to do. So, yeah.
And I must admit, and you've got to be a little bit more careful with the younger generation, Craig, which we're finding that the older people are very quick to adapt to this and say, okay, if we don't have to shake hands, we don't have to shake hands. We'll tolerate that for the period of time.
Can you bow, Bailey?
You can bow if that's socially conscious, because some cultures do bow.
Maybe the way to do things, bow. But so inspecting the property, physically inspecting it as a requirement seems to be fairly straightforward, because there's normally, Bailey, an owner and perhaps an owner's partner, etc., and yourself. But I would suggest that the showing might be a different story when you get to that point.
I think that's a lot harder. Now, estimated selling price is literally the same. You can that's all done by computers. You can do that from anywhere in Australia as long as you have RP data or Price Finder or any of that like programs. Your agency agreement, Craig.
Yes.
Now, this is a really important moment. The industry will have to go to electronic agency agreements where possible.
I agree.
If you're only having one person in the house, you need to do agency agreement. There's two things we've suggested to people, and hopefully next week Leverage will have its agency agreement out, which does two things. A, it allows it to be electronic, which means you can sign by DocuSign. And the second thing, it is really important at this time when people's cash is getting short, that we put protections in place to protect your commission.
Just go back a bit. So are we saying categorically, Bailey, that electronic signatures is an acceptable way to execute an agency agreement?
Good question. The Electronics Transaction Act 2000 says that any contract can be signed electronically, provided there is a clause within that contract which allows the contract to be binded electronically.
So that means that your agency agreement needs to have a clause that allows electronic signatures. You can't just electronically sign any document. Would that be right?
That's exactly right.
Right, which means the agency agreement form that Leverage will be producing has that clause.
That's right. It
Understood.
has that clause. The second thing is we need to have some protection, Craig, and for the first time ever we need to make certain that we have the ability to protect ourselves by lodging a caveat, and we're working on that at the present time. We've had this in place for probably 10 years, actually.
Lodging a caveat for security of?
Your commission.
Now, that's an interesting idea. So there's a new clause in the agency agreement.
We've put a clause in the agency agreement which creates a security interest which allows the agency's commission to be protected.
That is a very interesting innovation, Bailey. And so just repeat, caveats, the ability to lodge a caveat in the event that your principal doesn't pay. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, if you think that your principal's not going to pay, you can lodge a caveat, and the only way they can actually settle the property is to pay you out at settlement.
So that's an innovation.
Massive innovation.
Right. Looking forward to that one, I must say. Looking forward to that one.
And as we said in our videos on Monday, our fifth point was to ensure that we innovate, and that's what we've got to look to. Number three, the next point is your contract in your office.
Contract, right. So you've found the buyer and you are now moving towards exchange of contracts, so we need a contract prepared, yep.
Now, if you're going to have contracts prepared, obviously you want it to be done electronically.
Why is that, Bailey?
Well, electronic transactions has been around for probably 2 years, but you need to be looking at getting contracts from people who actually know how to do complete e-conveyancing, which means, let's start from the first part. They need to do identification of the person.
I see.
Now, we in this office have a thing called VOI, verification of identification of the person.
Right.
And that's a program which we have through InfoTrack. So if somebody actually rings in, we can actually verify them from anywhere in the world.
Okay.
Number two, we can create a contract which is a full e-contract which goes up on a link which goes directly to the agent.
So you can't just simply scan a hard copy of a document. It's a special e-document.
If you're going to do true e-conveyancing, scanning has its problems. You have to have agreements on scanning. This is a protocol which has been accepted by the Land and Property Information.
Does that mean, Bailey, that if the other side isn't set up for e-conveyancing, will that cause a problem?
If they're not set up for e-conveyancing, you have a problem, straight out.
Okay, so it would be best if you could have two conveyancers, lawyers on either side, both adopting the e-conveyancing protocols.
Yep. And so the question you put to your vendors and your purchasers, is your solicitor or licensed conveyancer set up for e-conveyancing? Are they aware of e-conveyancing?
And if not, perhaps you should be looking for someone who does have that capability.
Obviously, that's what you should be looking for.
Right.
It's absolutely vital that you have this protocol, because the beauty of it is, Craig, that you have one contract. It goes up online, the agent gets a link, the agent can distribute that link to their clients, and when everyone signs, everyone can sign in cyberspace.
So, Bailey, we're not just talking about electronic settlements, which has been around for a while. We're talking here about electronic exchanges, which is, in my view, very innovative and very new. Am I right?
Well, it's innovative. It's not new. It's been around for 2 years, but the legal profession as a whole, Craig, have actually been fighting against e-conveyancing. But this is e-conveyancing. It can be done completely in cyberspace without anyone actually contacting each other. So the agent gets it automatically up online. They know the person's been verifying their identification. They can actually make certain that there's only one contract which is distributed, and when it's signed, it's fully exchanged in cyberspace, accepted.
And is this across the country with every state on board, or is it just New South Wales?
Anyone in Australia can do e-conveyancing. It's an adopted platform which Leverage has got involved with some time.
I see.
And we actually think it's beautiful. And just as a side point, one of the problems you're going to have is identifying your clients. And there's two ways of doing this. There's one, obviously, you can get their ID when you're there, but that may be something in terms of proximity you don't want.
Yes.
But there is absolutely no reason why you cannot write to the solicitor and ask the solicitor or licensed conveyancer to identify, to state whether the person on the contract has been properly identified. Now, the solicitor confirms, yes, Jack Robinson is the owner of this property and we have visually identified them. You are in a position to say that you've complied with the fair trading guidelines in terms of proper physical identification.
And it's obviously must be able to speed up the never mind the social distancing and the coronavirus issues, but just pure commercial speed of transaction must be a benefit.
Provided the NBN holds it, its speed is right up to it. So if we get past the contract in your office, and pretty much if councils are online, you can have a contract in your office by e-conveyancing in under 24 hours.
Under 24 hours?
Under.
And it's available by a link, anyone can download it. So now we move on to the showing or the...
Well, that's the problem, showing the property.
Right.
I think we need to go back. Now, Craig, you and I have been around for a couple of decades, 3 decades with real estate. And we remember the days when we used to qualify our purchases before they came through.
Yes.
I think what this is going to make us all do is we're not going to be able to do retail sales where we have an open house where people all flood through the house and do it.
Yes.
A lot of people are saying, the best idea is to have appointments for people to go to have an open house time and have everyone allotted to 5 minutes. I think that's really dangerous. You're not controlling your space. You're not controlling your contact. I think it's really important that each purchaser is given an opportunity. Now, one of the agents in the eastern suburbs has cleverly said, if you're interested in this property, come in with an appointment. I'll take you virtually through the house and actually show the house virtually. If you're interested, we'll set you up an appointment. Now, there's really good qualification. It's actually a time saving, quite frankly. And I think, as I noted on Monday, Craig, there's a lot of things which are going to be in this come out of Corona, which will stay.
Are you saying, Bailey, that people will actually be forced to qualify buyers more professionally? Is that what you're saying? If
you are really wanting to protect yourself and your staff and your family, the best way is to minimise contact by good qualification.
Yeah.
Show them a virtual tour of the place, but don't go and put it up on your website and let the whole world see it, including the burglars. Make certain that those people come in, you know who they are, they've sent you through a copy of their identification. You then show them a virtual tour. They say, yes, we're really interested in the property, can I come and see it? You then book in an appointment time. Yes, you will have less people showing it, but you will have qualified people who A, can afford it, and B, who are terribly interested in it.
And when you say a virtual tour, Bailey, you're saying that you would have that virtual tour recorded and you would just make it available, or would you be walking through the house on each instance doing a stream?
Well, I think there's two different ways of doing it. It's a really good question, but some people feel better by having a standard virtual tour which they can walk people through themselves.
Privately available.
And there's other people who can, I think there's always be privately available. I think it's a real risk if you put something up on a website as a big virtual tour for the whole world to see, and you're burgled, you run a risk of being liable.
Understand.
So I think you control who you give it to, so they come on, you actually send it to them after giving their ID if it's a video. Alternatively, there's no reason why people can't come in at a time and you stream a open house while you walk around it and show everyone. There's no reason why you can't say 12 o'clock, I'm going to show this house, I'm going to walk through and show it to you. Those who are interested, come in and make an appointment. We've just got to minimise it, and really, in many ways, it goes back to the 1980s and 1990s, Craig, where we used to actually meet our people, take them to the house, show them the house, find out a little bit more about them, qualify them, find out what they're looking for, and move them on. It's going to be a back to the future. It's going to not change. So let's keep on going.
And then moving on to offers, Bailey. How are offers impacted?
Well, the good thing about offers is you can still do it by telephone. But look, there are some interesting new systems out there which we can use. There's absolutely no reason. One of the guys is trialling making offers and acceptance. He's actually setting up an appointment time to do a negotiation where he goes in through Zoom, puts each person in the code of silence.
I see.
So admit, and he's actually taking offers and doing the negotiation on the spot with everyone. So he's actually found that he's taking offers and acceptance from 2 or 3 people, doing it through a Zoom type arrangement.
Right.
Others are just following the normal transaction, doing a phone call. Offers can be done.
And
if you want to do it the whole way, you can. But gee, some people are using some really innovative techniques to do it.
And how do auctions, in terms of method of sale, auctions are significantly affected, would you say, or not?
Well, you can't run an auction.
You cannot run a public auction.
You cannot run a public auction.
Right.
However, we've been working on 2 auction programs for a number of years, but we worked on auction now with Damien Cooley. He's already up and running with live streaming. You can run online auctions. This is the new norm. We can already have a situation where you may not have a big crowd, but you'll have auctions which are mainstreamed. And yes, Damien Cooley is already a movie star on the block and other things. We'll be standing up there out the front, looking pretty. Sorry, Damien. Looking pretty, and he'll be out there doing the same auctions he could. The only difference is you'll have people not present.
So we're saying that online auctions are legal and acceptable and already out there.
Yep, and I think they're out there. They're ready to go. Quite frankly, I know that Auction Now housed at least 100 auctions last week.
All right.
And I don't think the market will stop. There was only a 5%, with online auctions in place, we only had a 5% drop in clearance rates last week.
So it's obviously a different auction experience if it's not in person, but as you say, it's there, it works, it's legal, we've been involved with it, and it's an option.
And it has the same results. It has the same result that if you don't put a bid in, when it passes the reserve, you don't win.
Right.
That's still the power of an auction.
And moving on to exchanges, Bailey, how is that going to be different?
Well,
how is
hopefully it's not going to be different, apart from what we just said before. If the 2 solicitors are involved, or well, let's say if the agent and the solicitor is involved with e-conveyancing, there is absolutely no reason why, once you're the victorious bidder, the vendor gets the link, signs their contract by DocuSign, and then it's sent to the purchase for DocuSign signing, and once the money is transmitted to the agent,
yes,
a button is pressed and it's exchanged on the day.
Now the key thing there, if I'm not mistaken, Bailey, is that if both parties must be e-conveyancers for that to work.
People have to be prepared for e-conveyancing.
So if one party is ready on e-conveyancing protocols and the other is not, it won't work.
No.
Right, just wanted
far
to make
too
sure.
Difficult. I think we're going to really look, there's no reason why the property market will stop. It will be different. We will have less people wandering through properties. It won't feel as cuddly and cosy and as friendly as it used to be. But there'll still work. There's going to be a number of investors out there who will need to offload their properties, and they have to have people to offload them for them. And so we all need to be available. And as I said, in our office we've got to a stage where we can do e-conveyancing, and our people can work from home and provide an e-conveyancing protocol. We're now doing advices on conveyancing over the phone, by Zoom. We're getting our people to sign by DocuSign. The whole range of implementations there, and funnily enough, I don't think anyone will ever want to come to my office again after this is all over, Craig.
And I think basically what you're saying, Bailey, is that this is the era of PropTech. We've all heard about PropTech.
Yep.
And guess what? We're in it. The circumstances have forced us to embrace property technology, and I would say that's going to be the future. Property technology, e-conveyancing, Zoom conferencing, anything that has a technology base is going to benefit the real estate industry. So for my part, Bailey, I'm very excited about the future. I don't know about you, but I am very excited.
Craig is one of those people, everyone, Craig has been excited from day one that we will now move into the 2020s in the real estate and believe we'll move ahead. But because there's going to be so much electronic conveyancing, guys, remember, you need to look after your networks, your community and your society, and you need to make certain we find a way to continue to work together. With exclusivity within the real estate industry for so long, we've based ourselves on one person, one listing, one sale, one commission. We're going to have to work together in this new marketplace. What that means, we're still yet to find out. However, just be careful, look after your network, your community and society, and we'll get through.
Now, Bailey, before I do, sorry to cut you off, what are we going to do one of these again? Or is this the only one?
No, Craig, we'll continue to do
we
these.
do this again, do we? That's excellent.
We'll be looking at, and as we see new things come into the marketplace and we see new ways of doing it, there's new announcements by government, we'll continue to do these and make that link to our network and our community and society.
Good. No, looking forward to it.
Everyone, keep well.
Thank you.